Please join us as we sing, "Be Still and Know That I Am God." If you know the hand signals, do them while Rachel is singing the song. We sing, "Be Still and Know That I Am God" to help us get ready, to settle us, to get the wiggles out, so that we can hear God's story.
Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am God.
Recording.
This is our desert box. We have a piece of it here in our church so that we can tell the stories. It helps us to tell the stories. We know that it's really hard to live in the desert. There's very little rain, and so things don't grow in the desert. And it can be very hot during the day, but feel very cold at night. And the wind blows in the desert, and it changes the landscape of the desert. And you can be wandering around in the desert and get lost because it looks so different. Yes, you don't want to go into the desert unless you really have to. Life is hard in the desert. The people of God lived in a place where it had stopped raining. Now this meant that the crops weren't growing, so there was very little food. There was a famine. And at night, when the children were sleeping, they would cry in their sleep because they were so hungry. And the parents knew that they needed to find a different place to live, even if it meant going through the desert. And so they set off. They set off to find a new place to live. And they journeyed through the desert together. And they came to Egypt. And it was here that they found a place to live, and food, and work. And then many years later, a new king, also called the Pharaoh, was in power. And he tricked the people, and he trapped them. And he forced them to do all the work. They had to sleep when the Pharaoh said. They had to eat when the Pharaoh said. They had to work when the Pharaoh said. He wouldn't let them leave. He made them his slaves. And the people of God were sad, and they groaned under this rule, and they cried out to God. And God heard them, and he sent Moses to talk to the Pharaoh. And when Moses went to the Pharaoh, he said, "Let my people go." But the Pharaoh said, "No." Pharaoh wasn't listening. And God sent 10 plagues. But each time Moses asked, "Let my people go," the Pharaoh said, "No." The 10th plague was a cloud of darkness that came over the land. And the firstborn son of every Egyptian family died. Even the animals died. But the people of God were spared. This cloud of death had passed over them. And now, when Moses went to the Pharaoh to ask, "Let my people go," the Pharaoh said, "Yes, yes, just go." Well, Moses rushed back to the people. And he said, "Come, we must leave now. Pack everything that you can, anything you can carry, we have to leave. We need to leave Egypt now." And they rushed. They rushed away from Egypt as quickly as they could, carrying with them only their belongings. In fact, they left so quickly, their bread didn't even rise. And they took with them only their unleavened bread. And they journeyed through the desert quickly, never knowing if the Pharaoh was going to stop them, come and get them. And as they approached the waters, they got closer and closer, and they heard the Pharaoh's army coming from behind, the thundering hooves of all the horses and the chariots, and they pushed closer and closer to the water's edge, not knowing what was going to happen. And they cried out. And God was close to Moses. And Moses was close to God. And he knew what to do. And the waters were parted. And the people of God were able to go through the waters. And some danced joyfully. And some ran quickly. And some were very cautious and worried. And some were confused. And when all of the people of God had made it safely through the waters, they came crashing down. And now Pharaoh's army was on one side, and the people of God were on the other side. And they were free. And they were safe. And they were happy. And they wanted to give thanks to the one true God. And they sang and they danced. And the prophet Miriam led them in their dancing. I wonder if you have ever felt trapped, like the people of God felt trapped. I wonder what your favorite part of this story is. I wonder if we took out a part of this story, would it still be the same story? Now that the people of God are free, I wonder where they will go. And now let us enjoy the scripture reading for today. And I want you to see if you hear any of today's story in the scripture reading.